Hey, what's going on, folks? We have an interesting show for you today. The CEO of Pfizer, Burr, has unfortunately come down with COVID-19. He tweeted, "I would like to let you know that I have tested positive for COVID-19. I am thankful to have received 4 doses of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, and I'm feeling well while experiencing very mild symptoms. I am isolating and have started a course of Paxlovid." Sorry, I can't help but laugh, not because I'm laughing at him being sick, but I'm laughing at him promoting 4 injections of his product and 1 course of his other product. Sorry, it's pretty funny. I'll read the rest of that statement, and then we'll talk about quadruple vaccinated U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin infected with COVID for the 2nd time this year. It's not supposed to be funny, but these people just harp at you so much. And between Biden and these people, I don't know if in my own personal circle, if I've seen anybody get sick as many times as quadruple vaccinated politicians. That's just what I'm seeing. Maybe it's because they get tested a lot. We'll talk about it. Then I want to show you a clip of Bill Burr talking about abortion, not just because it's hilarious and very accurate, but it's also going to help me explain how Karl Marx would be thrilled with not just the Democratic Party, but the Republican Party, because taxes have gotten so socialist/communist that the normal, even for the liberty-based Republican Party, is so psychotically high that everybody in the 1800s would have been freaking out, and he wouldn't have been able to help himself with giddy and joy. It's going to be a fun show today, folks. Thanks for joining. The live starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? We have a great show. I have a really funny Bill Burr clip to show you. I have a lot of clips to play, but first, we have a few quadruple vaccinated people getting sick, and I just want to say, this is not CDC or FDA recommended, but when I wear my masks in public, I always try to wear a NASA space helmet as well. Not that it does anything for COVID, but it just looks very fashionable. So that's just my fashion advice to some of these quadruple vaccinated politicians who just keep getting sick. I've never met anybody in my personal sphere that seems to come down with COVID-19 as much as quadruple vaccinated politicians and experts, etc. So Disclosed TV said just in, quadruple vaccinated U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd infected with COVID for the 2nd time this year. Real quick, I just want to read Burr. He said, "I'd like to let you know that I've tested positive for COVID-19. I am thankful to have received 4 doses of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. I'm feeling well while experiencing mild symptoms. I'm isolating and I have started a course of Paxlovid, which is also a Pfizer product." So he's telling you, don't worry, I've had all 4 doses of my Pfizer, and I'm taking Pfizer things for the Pfizer. Thank you, Pfizer CEO. Good job. He said, "We have come so far in our efforts to battle this disease that I'm confident I'll have a speedy recovery. I'm incredibly grateful for the tireless efforts of my Pfizer colleagues who have worked to make vaccines and treatments available for me and people around the world." He said Paxlovid is not approved, but is authorized for emergency use by the FDA to treat mild to moderate COVID-19 in high-risk patients. And then he starts to, put the link and everything. So he's promoting himself. He's like, 4 Pfizer shots, Pfizer pills or whatever, and here's how you can do it too. It's like, yeah, there's nothing I trust more than hearing about Pfizer products than the Pfizer CEO. I have a lot to say about this, obviously, but real quick, I do want to play this clip of Joseph or Sloseph Biden, Rachel Maddow or Crazy Cat Lady, and Rochelle Walensky. All of these people, let's not let them bury this in the time memory hole. Let's keep showing people that they sold this product early on by convincing millions of people that this product was going to protect them from getting or spreading the virus. This is not what I think. I know this. I have proof that they had told these people this. Yes, maybe they were wrong. The experts, the cover-up fact checkers, whatever you want to say about it, they really said these, and here's the clip to prove it so it doesn't get memory holed.
We're not in a position where we think that any virus, including the Delta virus, which is much more transmissible and more deadly in terms of unvaccinated people, the various shots that people are getting now cover that. You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also in real-world data.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
Obviously, don't listen to them, because all of what they just said is misinformation or bad data or them getting optimistic about a data set, but that's all misinformation. Don't listen to a word that they just said there, because that's all not true. But they told millions of people that on massive platforms and with their expert audience, and they told people, if you get this, you're not going to get it or spread it. And now you have quadruple vaccinated CEOs and U.S. defense secretaries coming down with it and promoting more Pfizer products. Lots to say about this, but the first thing I want to say is, people are starting to win against this push to cover up anything that Big Pharma does. Alex Berenson on Twitter got deleted/suspended for critiquing the COVID vaccines. He took Twitter to court. He ended up beating them in court or settling out, and now he's back on Twitter talking more trash. So there is a way to win. I mean, it's not easy, but he took him to court. He won. This whole rollout, it's hard to even try to process what I'm about to say because there's so much, but there's never been a product in history that I've seen that just works because they tell you it works. Obviously, I know there's data and studies, etc., but when this stuff's coming out, Operation Warp Speed, tens of billions of dollars, this mRNA technology, we're rushing to get it out as fast as possible. And then it comes and it's like, yeah, they have some studies and stuff. Sorry about my camera. I don't know what's going on. They have some studies and stuff, but they don't have as many long-term trials and tens of millions of people. We are the long-term trial. You are the long-term trial. As 5-10 years goes down, this is the trial. They were never really honest about it. It's just like, if we silence everybody who says anything against us, then that means the product works really well. Is that how Big Pharma works? They just do something and it just has to work because they said so, and they've never made a mistake before. No products have ever been taken off the market. Everything they do is just awesome and works perfectly just because they say so. That's not how anything works, and I hope that people use their common sense to realize that. Early on, we talked about the PrEP Act, PrEP, which means that under an emergency that they don't have liability for side effects and injuries. So this was like a very unholy evil alliance, while Big Pharma knows that if you get hurt or something happens, no matter how rare it is or not, they know that they have no liability for side effects, adverse events, or God forbid death. But yet they get their friends in big tech and the media to cover up anybody who's talking about VAERS reporting or anybody who's talking about an actual side effect. You had people on Instagram that legitimately had a side effect happen to them and end their athletic career getting censored by Instagram because they're talking about their injury. This is one of the craziest, most evil things I've ever seen roll out. And one thing that's very interesting, I won't take too much of your time, but VAERS reporting, they always act like it's a conspiracy theory or say it's not 100% true, which it's probably not. But if you look up VAERS reporting, VAERS, VAERS reporting is not a conspiracy theory. It wasn't made on Infowars.com. It wasn't created by a right-wing Trump supporter. VAERS was created by the government. It's a government database of vaccine adverse events and injuries, because when Reagan passed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, he took away liability from a lot of vaccine manufacturers. So for the first time in modern history, if somebody got hurt from their product, they didn't have to pay for it. So VAERS was set up in conjunction with a process to pay certain people out, so they could database the people who got injured, even if it was a small amount, and then they could pay the people with a different system. That's the whole reason VAERS, so it's just so crazy. Now your own government that created VAERS to track vaccine injuries are trying to act as if it doesn't even exist, just write it out of the water and say, yeah, I understand that it might not be 100% lining up with reality, but it is the best system we have. It's the system that the government created, so you're not going to use it, and the media is trying to act as if you shouldn't look at it or it's not real. It's because some of the information in there is not, what they want to hear. And they know that, and this is what makes it so evil, is they know even under this COVID vaccine rollout, people aren't getting compensated like they used to in the 80s and 90s when they had the VAERS payouts and stuff. I think it was more 90s, but you get what I'm saying. It's like the COVID fund, if you get injured from the COVID vaccine, it's like non-existent. Even NBC News, I mean, not completely non-existent, but the chance of getting paid out from it is very, very slim. They wrote a great article in CNBC about it, how they have no liability for their vaccines. This is not misinformation. This is not a conspiracy theory. I'm not here to go through the data and tell you how rare it is or not, because they say it's really, really rare. Well, let's say it is really, really rare. It still exists, and you still don't want to talk about it. So this whole rollout from front to back was one of the most corrupt things I've ever seen in my life. They used this emergency to shield the liability. They used this emergency to fund themselves tens of billions of dollars. Once they got tens of billions of dollars, then the Trump administration bought hundreds of millions of doses. So it's like socialism to fund them, socialism to buy them. Biden gets in, he buys more doses. The CEO of Pfizer is making a fortune. There's new pharma billionaires now. They're making tens of billions of dollars. This is set to be $1 trillion cash cow. And I'm okay with Big Pharma making money in a free market, but this wasn't a free market, and it's certainly not a free market to critique them, because if you were to critique them, whether it was true or not, but even if it was true, you have big tech then smothering up people talking about the reality of this thing. When they came out and said stuff like, this COVID vaccine, you're not going to get sick, said Joe Biden. Rochelle Walensky basically told people at first it was 100% effective, and so did Rachel Maddow. They were pushing this misinformation. You're allowed to lie in favor of Big Pharma. The fact checkers don't care. They'll fact check Donald Trump if he talks about one of the alternative drugs, but they're not going to fact check Donald Trump if he talks about the vaccine saved 50 million lives. It's the greatest human achievement. It's not the greatest human achievement in history, far from it. But they don't fact check Donald Trump on that, because you're allowed to lie, whether you're Biden, Walensky, left wing, right wing. If you lie in favor of Big Pharma, that's fine, because they just want to sell it. It's a big cash cow. They could say what they want, but once again, Big Pharma is the number one lobbyist in Washington. People need to understand that they have paid off both sides, Democrats and Republicans. Trump said he doesn't take big interest money. He took money from Pfizer. He put a pharmacy lobbyist at the head of Human Health Services. Okay, that's just the reality of it. I know people don't want to hear it, but, Biden, look at how much money he got from Big Pharma, even more than Trump. So the point I'm getting to is the corruption involved in all of this stuff, where you have the PrEP app shielding them from liability, then you have the media and big tech trying to say that you can't talk about vaccine injuries, no matter how, even if it's true. Then you have both parties know that they're getting so much money from the pharmaceutical industry, which lobbying, why do you lobby somebody? You lobby them to gain interest in Washington. Everyone knows that. So they're paying off both sides to do their bidding, and then everybody acts as if you're not even allowed to critique their product. You had experts, presidents, and, I would say mainstream, one of the most popular people on television, pushing misinformation, saying that if you get it, you can't spread or get the virus, which ended up not even being true, and it's proven time and time again. So all of this stuff, going forward, I could talk about it forever, but it's just insane what we went through. And now people will always say, well, what's the solution? And there's a lot of straw mans. People say, well, he didn't mandate it, this and that. So I'm going to go through exactly how both parties are in on it and exactly how to fix it in my perspective. But to do that real quick, I have to do a side intro. I'm sorry for people who don't like cursing. Bill Burr's going to curse. This is about a different topic. It's about abortion. But I want to show this clip because it's really funny. It's pretty accurate. And although he curses, it really shows you what I want to tell you about a different topic. But let's listen to Bill Burr real quick talk about abortion. Pretty funny. Warning, he's going to curse. So I'm sorry.
Because I don't like people telling me what to do. And I always just like, it's your body. Who the fuck am I to tell you what to do with your body? So that always made sense. All right? However, I still think you're killing a baby. See? That's where it gets weird. Like, I sit on the fence and the whole thing makes sense to me. Whatever anybody's saying, like, don't tell you what to do. It's my body, my choice. That's right, man. She's right. Leave it the hell alone. Oh, you're killing a baby. Well, I mean, there is that. If we're going to be honest, that is the whole purpose of the procedure. You're not going in there because you got an earache. You're going in there because you're like, I got a baby in me, get the fuck out of here. Right? You walk in with a baby, you come out without one. What happened to the baby? Right? Something fucking happened. So, pro-choice people are like, well, it's not a life yet. It's not a baby yet. If you do, I don't know what they say. Before you do it the first Thursday or the last Tuesday, you spin around one time. They dance between the raindrops. It's not a baby yet. That's what they say, which may or may not be true. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I'll tell you, my gut tells me that doesn't make sense. It's not a baby yet. That would be like if I was making a cake and I poured some batter in a pan and I put it in the oven, and then 5 minutes later you came by and you grabbed the pan and you threw it across the floor. And I went, what the fuck? You just ruined my birthday cake. And then you were like, well, that wasn't a cake yet. It's like, well, it would have been. If you didn't do what you just did, there would have been a cake in 50 minutes. Something happened to that cake, you cake murdering son of a bitch.
All right, so like I said, I'm sorry he curses, but it's just hilarious. So 2 things I want to point out with that abortion clip. First of all, I think that has probably convinced more people than most pro-life activists ever have, even though Bill Burr sits on the fence. And I'm not telling people to sit on the fence, but his analogy with the cake was like the perfect analogy, right? And I think that probably got through to more pro-choice people than anything, because his analogy was, you could say it's not a cake, but it was going to be in 50 minutes. You could say it's not a baby, but what are you going in there for? You are, you're getting rid of what's going to be a baby. Like, that's just what it is. So, there's I think a message there that's important, which is, having, I don't know if he has grace, but having a good way, like wording it right and making a convincing argument is the best way to win any conversation. I think Bill Burr somehow did that even without trying to with abortion. But I wanted to use that as an example to show you, like, saying that you're not doing that is the same as the Republicans saying that they're fighting Big Pharma. I want to use the same type of example, okay? Because a lot of times when I talk about this stuff, I don't talk about it to just harp on it or be annoying. I do it because in order to fight the beast, we have to get to the root of it. And unfortunately, the root of the Big Pharma beast, I mean, you could take it back to the Reagan days when Congress passed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act that gave them a liability shield. You could push it back to George Bush, who passed the PrEP Act. These are 2 Republicans. The Democrats are way more in bed at the moment with Big Pharma, for sure. Republican Party are better for medical tyranny, no question. It's better to vote Republican if you don't want to wear a mask all the time and be treated like an animal. I agree. But if you go in history, it wasn't all the Democrats pushing the medical tyranny. In fact, it was 2 Republicans that paved the way for this. And unfortunately, I know people don't want to hear this all the time, but it was Donald Trump who was in the White House from 2016 to 2020. And there's a reason that I'm going to do this, and I'm going to use that Bill Burr analogy to show you. What Republicans did to fight Big Pharma would be the same thing if Republicans said that they were pro-life and they were fighting for babies, but they funneled tens of billions of dollars to Planned Parenthood. They built dozens of new Planned Parenthood facilities. They passed an executive order that said modernizing abortions to use new technologies to rip, the whatever you want to call it out of the womb. Then they ran around the country bragging about how Planned Parenthood's so amazing and their products are great. And then they ran around the country saying you should get the Planned Parenthood thing that your guy did, like Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, get the Trump vaccine. And then they stood up there and they said, but I don't personally think you should get an abortion. And everybody would be like, well, anomaly, they didn't mandate, they didn't mandate the vaccines. They didn't mandate the mask. It's like, this is my analogy, though. Yes, it's the same thing as Planned Parenthood. They didn't come and rip the thing out of your womb, per se, but they did do steps 1 through 20 to make it all possible. This is the same exact analogy of what I just told you. If I told you Republicans did all of those steps to Planned Parenthood, gave them money, built a bunch of facilities, gave them tens of billions of dollars, bragged about their products, passed an executive order that said that, they could put new technology to make them modernized, and then put a big Planned Parenthood lobbyist at the head of Health Human Services, you would look at me in the face and you'd say, oh yeah, anomaly. I mean, Republicans, they might have not technically ripped the thing out of the womb, but they did. Obviously, they are working for them. You know what I'm saying? They're pretty much doing it without physically doing it. That same analogy is exactly what the Republican Party did when it came to Big Pharma. Yes, the Democrats are worse. Yes, they're taking more money. Yes, they are more sold out. But the Republicans are so far in on it, it's not even funny. So this is the point I'm trying to get when it comes to all this tyranny that's going on. Yes, it's the left wing mandating it. Yes, it's the left wing that's gone too far. But when it comes to the snowball that's this big now, Republicans pushed it down the hill for 12 months. You know, they put a pharmacy lobbyist at the top of human health services. They signed an executive order in 2019. They printed trillions of dollars. They gave tens of billions of dollars to Big Pharma. They ran around the country telling you to get the vaccine. Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, get the Trump vaccine. Trump's providing cover and says it's the greatest human achievement. It would be exactly the same thing as what I just said for Planned Parenthood without being repetitive, is what they did for Big Pharma. So this illusion that just because they didn't mandate the vaccine that they're somehow helping you is a lie. It's called a straw man argument. You can't face what I just said, so you pick a new argument. You said, well, they didn't mandate it. Okay, well, they also didn't mandate that I just threw this at my head, but it just hit my head. So it's like there's one of 1,000 things going on. I'm grateful that Republicans didn't mandate masks as much. I'm grateful that Republicans don't mandate vaccines as much. I get that they're not doing that. I see it. It's not that I'm not giving them credit. It's just that that's not the only thing that's going on. It's like if Republicans don't mandate masks, but they also print $50 trillion and give it to Elizabeth Warren. I'm not saying they did that, but they did. And then I'm like, hey, they just printed $50 trillion and gave it to Elizabeth Warren. And you're like, well, at least they didn't mandate my masks. And it's like, you're not getting it. You get what I'm saying? What they did for Big Pharma would be like them doing everything for Planned Parenthood, but saying technically, I didn't take it out of the womb. And there's a reason I bring this stuff up, because we constantly kick ourselves in the face. All this happens, and now we're sitting here and like, yeah, you know, look at all this vaccine tyranny. And it's like, yep, the left hand is the one mandating it. The left hand is the one going too far. But the right wing is the one that pushed them along for steps 1 through 20. And then we get to step 21, 22, 23. And now everybody's like, oh, well, at least they're not mandating it. And this is why time and time again, we just get conned into not doing that much. Once again, real quick, I wanted to bring up this Instagram reel/TikTok I did today. It's about Karl Marx and taxation. Hopefully you guys will appreciate this regardless of how you feel. I've come to the conclusion that Karl Marx would be thrilled with not only the Democratic Party, but the Republican Party. Without further ado, here's my mini presentation. Why Karl Marx would be thrilled with both parties in America in under a minute and a half. So bear with me. The Communist Manifesto was written in 1848. That was actually before the first ever income tax in America. In 1861, over a decade later, Congress placed a flat 3% tax on all incomes over $800. Congress repealed the income tax in 1872, but the concept did not disappear. In Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto, he wrote, number 2, he wanted a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. That's exactly what happens in both parties in America now. Keep in mind when this book was written, there was 0 income tax in America. 3% was a lot and at the time got repealed. Now if you look at the tax brackets, you have what Karl Marx dreamed of. Democrats will tax the upper class 39.6% in some cases. Republicans will tax them 37%. Both parties are taxing the lower class 10%, which would have been considered plunder and robbery, even if they were doing it to the upper class. This is socialist communist style taxing that's been normalized in America, so much so that Republicans actually think they're doing something. Oh yeah, we're fighting the deep state by doing Karl Marx's tax plan and funneling money to the government. In 2020, Republicans, with the pen of Donald Trump, Mitch McConnell, and Nancy Pelosi, printed more money than ever printed before in modern history. The government gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Democrats say that it's a good thing. Republicans only pretend to stop the beast. If Karl Marx were alive to see a 37% graduated and progressive tax led by a group of people who pretended to be liberty and capitalist based, he would have laughed hysterically. So just to wrap that up, I did the research because I was like, what came first, income tax or Karl Marx? Because I've read Karl Marx's book. You can see I highlight it here. I do my research. And I saw that he wanted a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. When you hear Bernie Sanders say, I want a progressive tax on the wit. I want the wit, the 2%, the 1%. It's like, Bernie, go eat a cream cheese bagel, buddy. And that's not anti-Semitism. I like cream cheese bagels too. Now they're going to be like, that's anti-Semitic. I'm like, if I was trying to be rude, I would have said a bagel with lox. But instead, there are other races that eat cream cheese bagels. I'm sorry for my joke. God bless you, Bernie. And, whatever. In general, the 1%. A heavy progressive graduated income tax is what Karl Marx wanted. At the time that he wrote that, there was no income tax in America. There wasn't any income tax. When they first put in an income tax, it was like 3%, and then it went away because nobody wanted to do it for that long. With that being said, now we pay 37%, 39%. Whether it's Democrat or Republican. Someone said I like jalapeno bagels with cream cheese. Exactly. It's everybody likes bagels. It's okay. But in general, as moving on, there is no conversation around taxing. It's like if Obama gets in, he taxes 39.9% or 39 point something percent. Trump does 37%. The lower class gets taxed 10%. If you're in the lowest bracket possible, that's pretty much standard right now, 10%. That would have been considered theft, plunder, robbery. Like nobody would have paid 10% taxes. 3% was a lot to ask in the 1800s, and then they took it away. It was just for the war. Now the standard is what would have been considered too high. So, half the reason that the deep state or, and I do it in quotes because they'll be like, what do you mean by that? It's like everybody knows what I mean. But, the reason that they always win, the reason that Trump's administration ends in a lockdown, the reason that they control the circus is because at the end of the day, we're still funneling money to the beast. 39%, 37%, it's just straight robbery. 10% is robbery. 12% is robbery. 20% is robbery. Then you have property tax. You have income tax. You have sales tax. You have this tax, that tax. You leave New Jersey, you get taxed. California gives you a state tax. It's all of these things. State tax wasn't even created in America, I think, until the 1900s, I was reading. So it's like they've normalized this stuff, and the beast gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they give you two characters. It's like, here's the blue character, here's the red character. I'm blue character, I'll tax the rich 45%. I'm the red character, I'll tax 37%. And it's like, that's crazy. It's crazy either way. We're getting absolutely robbed. And when Karl Marx wrote his book, there was no income tax in America. If I were to tell Karl Marx today, sorry about the Zoom thing, I got to get this camera fixed. If I were to tell Karl Marx that we were taxing the poor 5%, the rich 20%, he would think we were doing communism. He'd be like, oh, this is great. This is what I've always wanted. But we're doing crazier than that. Like if Karl Marx could see what the Democrats and Republicans tax, he would be like, oh my gosh, we did it. They're doing it. It's escalating. It's too far. Like he would have probably been happy with like a 25% tax on the wealthy, So someone said bagel elites. Guys, let's not do this now. But in general, I just told Bernie Sanders to eat a bagel because I thought he might be hungry. I wasn't even considering it. It's like if I told somebody that was African American to eat like McDonald's, and they're like, did you mean which sandwich at McDonald's? I'm like, I just thought of a random food because someone kept saying bagels in the comment section. I got hungry, but let's not blow it out of proportion. But anyway, yeah, I just found that fascinating that the Republican Party is doing the Communist Manifesto, and it'll never get done because everybody's like fighting in circles around other things. I don't know any other way to put it. I'm not trying to be hateful. I get that there's a time and a place to, make fun of the left and dunk on them, but I feel like nothing's going to get done until people realize that we're getting absolutely destroyed by taxes, and they take our taxes and they bloat the government with those taxes. So it's a win-win. It's like if we could get a president to lower it to 20% or whatever, it's like then they would eliminate spending. But right now, nothing's going to change in this country. I think, to me, that's one of the root principles. Someone said I love bagels with cream cheese. Everyone loves bagels. It's like if I told an Italian to eat pizza, it's like, I don't know. Everyone likes pizza too. It's not that offensive. Don't cry about it. But yeah, I think it's one of the root principles to change this country. If we could get Republicans, like somebody like Rand Paul or Thomas Massie in office, and they could actually substantially lower taxes and cut some of the funding, I think we could have some success in this country. But with a communist style tax on the right wing, no plans of changing that, trillions of dollars being printed, big pharma socialism, I don't understand why people think something's going to get done if Republicans get back in office. It's going to be a little better. They're definitely making some progress in some ways, but the judges were good. Definitely not allowing a Democrat to get three Supreme Court judges was very important. But besides that, I just am so bored with the circus now that I'm so tired of most Republican accounts. They post the same thing all the time, the same echo chamber stuff, and reading the Communist Manifesto, you get it. I'm like, we're doing that too on our side, and no one has a plan to change it. Someone said triggered by bagels. Well, I don't think anybody really cares here. I just don't feel like it becoming a sound clip. They're like, the raging anti-Semite told Bernie Sanders to eat a bagel, and it's like, I wasn't. You're the real racist. I wasn't even thinking about that. I just, I'm not Jewish, but I like bagels. I eat too many. I like jalapeno bagels. I like bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel. But let's not get into it. It's somebody's fault in the comment section. They kept talking about bagels. I got distracted. Someone said Democrat light. Yeah, I'm going to read some of your comments and stay for like 10 minutes and keep it pretty brief. But I don't, it's like people will be like, well, we're fighting the rhinos. And I'm like, yeah, but no one. Oh, this is a point I wanted to make. I totally forgot. The conversation about the IRS. Apparently, allegedly, they're adding 87,000 IRS agents over the course of a certain amount of years. The left's trying to fact check it. The right's freaking out. Here's my argument that I don't even care at that much. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but like here, the left will say it's a good thing to have 87 IRS agents. The right wing will say, why do we need more IRS agents? Which is right. Here's what I'm saying. Why are we getting taxed 37%? Why are they robbing me blind? Why are the lower class paying 10% taxes when that would have been considered theft 100 years ago and nobody would have stood up for it? So here's another controlled little argument for people to have. I don't want the IRS agents. I agree. We want the IRS agents. But who's telling you that the real root of the problem? Listen, I got to pay taxes anyway. Whether there's 1 million IRS agents or 100, they're going to take my taxes. It doesn't matter. I mean, if they have a gun, it's America. Second Amendment is, they could probably have one on their own. I'm not saying I want the IRS to just have millions of agents with guns. Like that's my dream or anything. But it's like the real story is not how many agents there are. The real story is whether there's 1 or 100 at my door, they want my tax money. And I pay it every year and I do it accurately because that's just the country. The government steals my money every year. They just rob me blind. And that's a conversation that never gets had. Even the IRS agent conversation is another circus. This is why the right always loses. They're just reactionary and they're playing defense. It's like the Democrats go on the offense. The Democrats set the narrative. The Republicans pick the headline. They cry about it. They complain. They act like they're going to do something. They just go blah, blah, blah. 87 IRS agents. Durr. And everyone's like click, 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 click. And then they're on to the next thing. Nothing changes because it's like it's all low level stuff. I agree with people. I think there's too many IRS agents. That's too many. But the real conversation is it doesn't matter. If Trump wins again, I'm going to be paying 37% taxes or 35 or 32 or 30. And the lower class is going to be paying 10 when a couple hundred years ago, people paid 3%. And that was insane. Elon Musk posted a meme and he said the irony that the country that was founded on like the whole revolution, a lot of it was based off of taxation and, they didn't want to be taxed and, you had all those things. The irony that now there's going to be more IRS agents, like he was laughing at that, like America's founded on rebelling against tax and now there's all these people coming for you. It's not funny, but it is kind of funny where it's like, yeah, no one thinks in this country anymore. So it's like, you don't like Trump, I like Trump, you hate Trump, I hate Trump, you Trump to Trump. And it's like, I am getting my money robbed every year. And no one's talking about it. So that's what we're trying to do. Reframe. Someone said Big Bagel is going to take over the world. The bagel industrial complex is very strong. When Klaus Schwab wants you to eat jabugs, they're going to have bug bagels. You're going to have a Klaus Schwab instead of like a Einstein Brothers, you're going to have a Schwab Brothers bagel store. And it's just going to be like, do you want jabug? Do you want jabug bagel or jabug bagel? You're like, I guess I'll have the bug bagel. I don't know. Do you guys have cream cheese? Cream cheese is bad for the environment, okay? We have the bug bagel. It is sustainable. For Agenda 2030. Do you guys have like, olive cream cheese or maybe chives? Oh, we only have the cricket cream cheese, okay? The cricket cream cheese is very good. A lot of protein. I don't want to eat crickets, okay? I don't want to eat the bugs. Fact check. Klaus Schwab doesn't want you to eat bugs. He only suggested it one time on his website, and it wasn't him that was writing, it was someone else. It's like, I get it. By the way, I will be doing that fact check video later this week because they didn't respond to me. So It's on. I'm going to have to spend hours of my time constructing and just exposing the fraudulent, lame, stupid fact checkers, and it's going to be glorious. But I don't feel like taking all that time, but I'm going to have to now because they won't refund it. Someone said you need to go on tour. I know I should go on. I should be on tour, but it's okay. I don't know. I like my computer. I've been traveling a lot. I'm happy to be here. So one day I'll be on tour when the time's right. Eat the bugs, okay? Fact check. Joe Biden didn't fall off his bike. He technically fell with his bike. I mean, if you watch the video slowly, anybody could have fallen off his bike. I mean, it's rumored that Lance Armstrong fell off his bike one time. So it's fair to say that, Joe Biden is Lance Armstrong because Lance Armstrong once fell off the bike too at the Tour de France. And, Neil Armstrong, who went allegedly on the moon, and Trump, it's like the fact check. Klaus Schwab doesn't want you to eat bugs. He wants you to be happy and healthy, and he just wants you to feel all warm and fuzzy inside. And anybody that doesn't agree with his book COVID-19 The Great Reset is a conspiracy theorist, then you need to agree with his plans. I mean, believing in the basic principles of liberty and freedom and prosperity, those times are done, folks. We bow down to the World Economic Forum now. I got a video taken off of TikTok. Is it called? Yeah, TikTok. I got a video taken off of TikTok where I literally just hold up a book and I'm like, this is the Communist Manifesto. But I was like, this is COVID-19 The Great Reset. It's a book by Klaus Schwab. I'm literally just like pan-faced being like, if you want to know what he thinks about the world, read his book. And they took it down for like misinformation. Like we live in a Black Mirror 1984, like whatever sci-fi book you want to say, that's the world we live in now. They try to quash criticism of Big Pharma because Big Pharma has sucked everything up. I saw this coming from a mile away because when I was in high school, they tried to give me pills and they tried to give everyone pills. Everybody, it's like pills. I came from that generation where they're like, are you good at sports? Take Ritalin. Do you not pay attention? Take Ritalin. Are you a musician? Take Ritalin. Do you fall asleep because you don't sleep enough? Take Ritalin. It's like that. I mean, the 90s were kind of dope. In 2000s, we had like Full House, Everywhere You Go. We had like Pat Sajak, I mean, we were kind of crushing it, but it was also like wake up at 4 a.m. and ate 3 scoops of like, 3 bowls of like Cocoa Pebbles, and I'm just eating sugar in the morning, and they're lying to us in the food pyramid. They're like, do you want to be healthy? Just eat bread and drink, pasteurized milk. And you're like, everything was just a lie in the 90s, with the food. Like, they're like, just take Ritalin and eat a bunch of like sugar in the morning. And it's like, what? They're like, it's healthy for you. It's got grain in it. Grain. It's like, all grain is not the same as grain. You get what I'm saying? I'll put your thing on the screen, MP, but then I'm going to do it later. But, so they had us eating like a bunch of sugar all the time. And then if you were sleepy, they tried to shove pills in your mouth. So it was already obvious that Big Pharma is trying to get as many people to suck on their pills so they can make as much money as possible. And then the vaccine cash cow, I mean, it's been a cash cow, but especially in the last like 3 years, this started before the pandemic. Trump signed an executive order in 2019 to modernize vaccines. I mean, you think Big Pharma isn't in on this or paying attention? Like, oh, we're going to have the president sign an executive order to modernize our vaccines and get them to more people and make sure that it's in the executive order that they were complaining that not enough people were getting flu vaccines. Guys, in 2019, before the pandemic, Trump signed an executive order that brought together like 8 different branches of government, and they're complaining in the executive order that enough people don't get the influenza vaccine and they need to modernize vaccines. And then 2 years later, Pfizer's making record-breaking profits. And I'm the crazy one after a decade of them shoving pills in everybody's mouth, and you're not supposed to talk about it, and I'm supposed to think it's not controlled opposition leadership when Sarah Huckabee Sanders runs around the country saying, get the Trump vaccine. Oh yeah, that's really going to save us from the mandates, guys. When Donald Trump gives them $10 billion, when Donald Trump buys their product, when Donald Trump brags about it, when Sarah Huckabee Sanders tells you to go get it. Oh yeah, they're really fighting the deep state, guys. hey, Alabama, howdy, y'all. I'm just like you. I'm Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and you should go get the Trump vaccine. And everyone's like, MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. It's like, yeah, no, we're not going to win, guys. We're getting taxed. We're getting taxed higher than Karl Marx could have ever dreamed by our own party. They're spending trillions of dollars like communists. And I'm the crazy one for noticing that nothing's going to change. But anomaly, if he gets back in, he's going to fight China. No, maybe. I don't know. Are we going to have like a competition with China to see who can abuse their citizens the most? It's like China's like, I'm building factories and everyone's dying from like inhaling, like toxic air. And Trump's like, I'm steamrolling vaccines into the public as fast as possible. And it's like, man, and they're going to be fighting. And the citizens of China and America are going to be like, is this going to help us in any way, or are we winning? MP said, people don't realize that's why we're always at war. It's the only way they're allowed to tax our income. No war, no taxes. So they have to keep the wheels churning. And Trump was making them nervous there too. Yeah, for sure. He did a great, I asked a question. I'm not going to stay too much longer. I'm keeping it under 45 minutes. But I asked a question. I said, what was like Trump's biggest accomplishment? Because I just wanted to like make a list, because there's some things I think he did good. But one of the things that is definitely fair is, I think foreign policy wise, he stopped a lot of the wars, or he at least halted what they were doing to some extent. But then, in my opinion, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but he essentially, I would say, waged war on America. It's like 15 days to slow the spread. Instead of like, locking down a city in Afghanistan, now we're locked down. So I think he did a great job with foreign policy, but when you lock me in my house and put Fauci on a television and give a bunch of money to Big Pharma and tell everybody that Georgia should stay closed, you're not really doing me any favors. Like, it's definitely more beneficial for us for you to just go fight over there instead of, fighting us. But I get that. Supreme Court was huge. Not trying to be a dick, but I would say that George Bush did a better job of choosing Supreme Court justices. Clarence Thomas was one of the Bushes. Alito was one of the Bushes. Trump's Supreme Court picks are better than a liberal. I think it's beneficial to vote Republican, but when it's all said and done, were his Supreme Court picks like better than Clarence Thomas? No. So it just seems like Ted Cruz probably could have done that, or maybe even chose someone better. I don't know. So, they're definitely, I know a lot of people were talking about certain regulations he cut. There's definitely things he did, but it just seems like the 2020 lockdowns kind of wiped away like 90% of those. And in order to win in the future, I just hope people are paying a little bit of attention. That's all. So I don't want to harp on things I normally do, but that's the show for today. I don't know what's going on with my camera. I hit up the company. They're going to send me a new one, I think, because it's malfunctioning, or maybe I just don't know how to work the auto zoom. But to wrap up today's show, the CEO of Pfizer got sick, but he wants you to know that he feels good because he took 4 Pfizer shots and is eating Pfizer pills. So congratulations to the Pfizer CEO for taking his own products and shamelessly promoting them, or not shamelessly promoting them, when he got sick. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin got sick with COVID, but I'm sure he's okay thanks to his 4 shots or whatever. The Bill Burr clip on abortion, check it out, rewind if you didn't see it. And how I've come to the conclusion that Karl Marx would be absolutely thrilled with both parties, because when he had the idea of progressive and graduated income tax, there was no income tax in America. So even the idea of I bet if he even taxed the rich 10% and the poor 3%, he would have considered that like massive progressive income tax. But now our country is so socialist and bloated out of control. The best our own party can offer us is 37% taxes, or 12% taxes, or 20% taxes, depending on how much money you make. And that would have been considered theft and robbery 100 years ago. And no one's talking about this. There's no movement in the Republican Party right now to lower taxes from 37 to 20, or from, 10 to 0, or, there's no movement for this. So as far as I'm concerned, and there's no movement to hold the Republicans accountable for their complicity in the Big Pharma stuff. So to me, it's all like a big show. And even though there are some little proxy battles going on, the ball will keep rolling. And the people who are really overseeing both parties, they're not extremely threatened. They're a little threatened. They definitely would rather a Democrat, right? Democrats are easier. They make government bigger. You don't have a Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene saying all this stuff. So they definitely like Democrats more than Republicans. No question. I don't think that's fake. I think it's real. I do think Republicans are the lesser two evils, but until the base figures this stuff out, I think it's going to be a lot more of the same, unfortunately. But, have a beautiful day, enjoy yourself, and focus within, because that's always the real solution in my perspective. God bless you guys. Thank you to everybody who signed up on Patreon. We have a secret episode out this morning and yesterday. We have our 4th secret episode. So if you want more podcasts, you can get 4 free ones. Well, not free, I guess it's behind the Patreon wall, but 4 secret ones at patreon.com/raretalk. My friend is anonymously known as MAGA Man. He joined me today. Or yesterday, and that's up there. And then thank you to everybody on Facebook supporters. We will do a supporter-only live stream this week. I got you guys. Appreciate it. Check out this video. Share it if you think it's interesting. And I'll fix my camera. I don't know what goes on. And I'm sorry to the ADL for my Bernie Sanders bagel joke. I will go repent and go to some sort of memorial, and I will apologize like Nick Cannon and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm sorry about my joke. It was funny, but I've now thought about it, and I realized that everything in the world is my fault because I made that joke. So I'm just getting ahead of my apology in case I get in trouble. Appreciate y'all. Have a good